So let me just share my screen and then I'll start with uh, the introduction about TOGAF, because I believe that the primarily you would be looking for the certification as well, not only the understanding but the certification for the TOGAF as well, right?
Right. Both are, yes.
Okay, so let me
So
just
this is what my question is. We are going for 10th level or ninth level?
that understanding I didn't get from, and I didn't even specifically ask from Kiran. Um, I had prepared this demo for the TOGAF 9, but yeah, that is a very important question that you are looking for TOGAF 9 or TOGAF 10.
10.
Okay, because for that I need to prepare the slides and then we can go ahead. But for this demo, I believe what
No,
actually.
no, you can go ahead. I'm not wasting your time. It's 9 also is good for me, but my focus is on 10. I
No,
already sent him a text and I emailed him that I'm looking for 10, not less than 10. I know it's a level 1 and level 2, but 10 is something different. The same new standard is being created, 3 levels of certification or something like
Yes.
that. So I can work with KN, right? You made to say KN, KAREEN, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
um, then I would say that because TOGAF 10, I will come to TOGAF 10 later stage if you go ahead, but you might be already knowing that TOGAF 9 is having two levels. One is foundation and second
Yes.
certified. 9 is just
Yes.
the basic concept understanding of the principle of enterprise architecture and TOGAF standards, whereas certified is that where you will be able to analyze apply knowledge, what we have in TOGAF, how do we apply TOGAF principles, TOGAF standards to the real-time scenarios. That is the point of certified program.
Yes.
This you might be already having this understanding that for whom, or I would not like to go with this because you are already into the architecture and you are into the software life cycle.
Yes.
So that's then I'll skip this. This again would get changed with TOGAF 10, but in TOGAF 9 foundation, I have these 13 learning units, one including this demo or the prelim slide or the unit, which learning unit which we have, where we talk
Okay.
about that how this TOGAF looks like and what it is there. TOGAF certified, that again, the 13 from the foundation, because in certified you have some of the things from the foundation, and then there is all together the core concept and how do we implement that, then 13 units from there. So total it comes as 26.
Okay.
So these would remain in TOGAF 10 as well. Some of things get changed, but as TOGAF 10 is based on TOGAF 9.2 itself, so basic concept or ADMs or building blocks, architecture view, all that thing remain in TOGAF 10 as well. So these are the learning units like where we talk about the basic concepts, core concepts, definitions,
Mhm.
what is ADM, architecture development methods, then enterprise continuum and what are the tools for that, ADM phases, right? Governance, how do we define the governance? And it is for the level one, right? Architecture view, viewpoints, how do we manage the stakeholders,
Mhm.
building blocks, artifacts. Then in the deliverables, we have the artifacts as well. Then the TOGAF reference models. Learning level 2 or the certified level, it goes mostly around the ADM and
Can you a little bit expand this screen? It is so tiny.
this one.
Yeah, good, good. No, the next one, that's good, right?
Mhm. So, what level of explanation you are looking for that? What is ADM or ADM phase one or those kind of things?
Not detailed wise, we can just brush up in that, it's not a detailed one I'm looking for.
Okay, so let me just go back. This we have as a ADM. This is architecture development methods which we have.
Okay.
So. preliminary, we have something as a phase. We do not call directly preliminary as a phase, but the phase, actual architecture phase, starts from A. So phase A, B, C, like that we have it.
Yes.
And then we talk about that what is the preliminary is something like that we gather the information what uh, company or industry is looking for as a enterprise to solve as part of enterprise architecture. So it is the kind of a vision which comes from, let's say, CIO or CTOs, and then it goes into into this phase, into these phases to deliver the artifacts. And then these are the phases which we are talking about. Then architecture vision, how do we convert this vision of industry to the architecture? Then there are multiple stages, multiple artifacts which we produce over here. The things, how do we do that? All these things comes into the not only architecture vision, but it comes in all of these phases.
Okay.
So and then we have this business architecture where the business architecture, or let's say that business, how the business is derived from the vision, what is the business looks like, that kind of architecture we define. So these goes in and all that information systems, which is your application architecture or data architecture. Then we have technology architecture where we define that what technology, what tools we need to use. Opportunity and solutions is that the what kind of solutions we are defining, combining the BDAT. We call this BCD as BDAT, business data application and technology architecture. All these things get combined, and then we have the solution for that. Then how do we migrate? Because this is a transformation or the evolution which we are doing, or the enterprise architecture which we need to define. It goes into the migration planning, that how do we do that. Then similarly, this implementation and governance. So implementation and governance is that how do we really implement the architecture which we are defining. And at the last, if there is any gaps or any risk which we have identified, any gaps, because there is the analysis which we need to do is a part of implementation and governance. And if there is any risk we have identified, if there is a gap, any gap which we have identified, that goes into the architecture change management. And then this goes into a cycle. All of these phases are connected to the requirement management, where we capture all the requirements, or we get we create the requirements which is produced as an artifact from each of these phases. So architecture vision, so requirement management is something, we have a requirement that is uh, a base for any of these phase or any of the artifacts which we are going to produce out of it. But out of any of these phases, there might be some amendments, some changes required on the requirement. Then it gets updated on the requirement management as well. So this is very high level on this ADM.
Okay. Yeah. In the first, I asked the questions on the ADM. You said the business units, right? Business, like B stands for the business. My
Business architect.
question is, nowadays, they in the project managing and other thing, they come and implement. They are not following any standard. They have their own standard, right? Like implementation standards, requirements gathering, gap, proposed solution, blah, blah. But what range of the company, the revenue wise, will go for the TOGAF?
See, it's not based on, as per my experience, I have seen, because my whole experience is in telecom, and when I see this overall, not only from telecom perspective, first thing is that TOGAF is not something that we have to use fully, because ca any of the industry cannot go just by the TOGAF or the framework which is being provided by TOGAF, because there are some changes which is required,
Yeah.
some grid way which is required on top of TOGAF. Now, when we say that any of the transformation which is needed to the any organization, then they can adopt the TOGAF or TOGAF standards. And specifically, when we talk about TOGAF, we mostly talk about ADM, this cycle, because this converts the vision which we are having as part of enterprise to the actual deliveries of the architecture. Now, when this comes in, Not all the organization fully uses each of these components. Some of the organization uses one of these, some of the organization uses other one. So from my point of view, this is not based on the revenue model that which company is going to use what, but it is basis the architecture which is there in the organization and how they want to leverage TOGAF to define the enterprise architecture.
Okay.
Because nowadays, if you'll see, many of the industries started having the product owners rather than directly the business persons. Now, these business is a kind of person who is putting up the requirement, but on top of that requirement, how that has to be realized in the actual world, that gets converted by the product owners. So if you see that uh, the organization directly doesn't say that this is the business architecture which they are defining, but as part of the converting this high level business requirement to the actual deliverable requirement by the product owners, that is also a architecture, a kind of architecture which business is deriving. And
Okay.
it is an I would say um, a bridge between the business and the technology or application data architecture, because once you have the clarity on the architecture from the business point of view, then only you can define the architecture on data application and technology side.
Okay.
Let me just quickly jump into over here. So uh, I'll keep this till here, and I'll just quickly go through this thing, that because if you'll see that there are multiple phases. So in level 2, we go in deep about the preliminary phase, architecture vision, all these phases which we are having, and the artifacts, the kind of governance, the frameworks which we need to use along with these phases, that goes into a deeper understanding along with the course as it continues. So we go till phase H. There are total 8 phases, so we go till eighth phase, which is architecture change management, and then there are the architecture architecture repository, and then there are guideline, guardrails, principles that we need to use. How do we adopt the ADM? Because TOGAF, in a way, if I say that this whole TOGAF as a concept or framework is revolving around this ADM. So ADM is kind of a core heart of this TOGAF, where we talk about
Okay.
all these things. So if you have a complete understanding about ADM, then you are expert for TOGAF.
Oh,
And
okay.
artifacts we do produce with all of these phases. What is this phase? What artifact do we produce with these? So that goes around the ADM. Exam, I believe you would be aware of. I need to check for TOGAF 10. But TOGAF 9 had these 40 questions for 60 minutes. These are very simple questions, kind of uh, where you have 4 of 5 options and you have to select multiple choice questions. The complexity comes when you have the certification exam, where you have a real-time scenario-based questions. There are only 8 questions, 90 minutes. So you are having almost 11 to 12 minutes to solve one scenario. And uh, I can literally say that it is going to take a very good understanding or very good insight from the TOGAF open book or TOGAF standard book, which we have for the certified level examination. This is an open book exam. You can open that, you can refer that, but if you have not read through that book, then you will not be able to navigate through that book throughout the exam. You would be wondering that what has to be searched upon. So
Okay.
this would come as a complexity. Uh, the uh, the interesting part, or I would say that the tweaking about this exam is that one scenario, 5 options. If you look into this question and the answer based in the scenario, you will find that all these 5 are seems to be correct. They,
Oh, okay.
these are literally seems to be correct, because it is this exam is prepared in that way only, that you would find all that answers relevant, and until unless you have a better understanding from that book of TOGAF, you would not be able to literally map that what is the right example. And the difference between is that one is totally wrong, you get zero answer, zero mark for that. Then you have 1, 2, 3, and 5. So maximum is 5, then 3, then 2, 1, and 0. So based on the choice of your answer, you will get the marks. So to pass this exam, we have to select the uh, the answer with the 5. We can select at least 3 for 1 or 2, but not below that. Otherwise, this would not get be uh, completed. Okay, I'll not go into this certification. How do you get that? It's this. You can find it on the online on the TOGAF website as well. Now, I wanted to cover some of the things that about the management overview, what management overview of TMF standard provides. And even before that, because we are talking about the TOGAF framework, then this which comes from the open group. Now, what this open group is, right? The first thing which comes into the mind, and these are seems to be very basic things, but we have one or two questions from one of these from each of these objectives or each of these points in the foundation examination, which may be like that: what is TOGAF, what is open group, or what is enterprise architecture. So those kind of things are part of foundation exam as well. So open group is nothing but it is a consortium that enables the business to deliver their objectives with the technology. And that I'll go with that how do we do that? And the answer is obviously the enterprise architecture, but the TOGAF framework provides that how business is equal to technology.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the role where the enterprise architecture come into, that you have to solve the business which meets the technology standards.
Okay.
Okay, so it provides the global consortium. That's the open group. Now, this is very important. I have seen in multiple exams that there is a question about this vision, or there is some true false kind of a thing about the boundary loss information flow. So the open group says, or says as a vision, but it is the principle or it is the main foundation for open group, which says that we can flow the information boundaryless. And boundaryless doesn't mean that there are no specific boundaries. It means that there are boundaries, but there is no boundaries where we are not able to preamble to enable the business. So these ADM phases which we have seen now, if we have any vision, if we have any business, we need to enable a business. Then this information can flow from one of the phase to the entire life cycle. That is the main vision, that we don't have any boundary, or it is completely boundaryless information flow between the phases, or between, let's say, phases from the ADM point of view, but from the organization point of view, you can say that boundaryless information flow between different entities in your organization. So, for example, we can take any of the banking industry. Now, when we take the banking industry, in the banking, you would have a portfolio of saving accounts, you would have portfolio of credit cards, you would have a portfolio of loans. So the TOGAF says that when we define the architecture, the information is not bounded to a specific thing. It can flow between all these three portfolios. But But this doesn't say that we don't have any boundaries. There are boundaries which says that this information can only be flown between these portfolio just to enable the business between these three. So a saving bank customer can potentially be a credit card customer and can potentially be a loan customer as well. So that is
Yes.
how that is how it is defined, that information can flow boundarylessly between this, but it is flowing just to enable the business between three. That is how it is, and
Okay.
this can be uh, taken for an example. You can take in the banking industry. You can also take an example where we have a bank and then we have a payment gateway, and this payment gateway is being provided by the bank itself. So payment gateway can be used by any of the organization overall the world, but as part of this, and when we define the architecture for this payment gateway, let's say, then we say that if we need to enable a business for this bank, then we can flow the information. Otherwise, this is a closed information which we are having in within the payment gateway.
Okay.
So again, this is the same thing which I was explaining
Yeah.
in the last slide, that working with customer to capture, understand, and address current and emerging requirement, establish policy and share best practices. So it is like that what we have in credit card, saving account or the loan. So the information or the share the best practices between all these three. Working with supplier consortia, standard bodies to develop consensus, facilitate in interoperability. So this is the example which I was taking for the bank and the payment gateway.
Okay.
Developing and operating the industry premier certification service, encouraging the procurement of certified products. This is something like, um, when we do all these things, then industry has to have some governance. Okay, and the products which they are selling or which they are procuring or which they are having, basically the products or services which they are providing, then there is an agreement between these interoperable entities or the entities where this information can flow. So this is about the open group mission,
Okay.
architecture forum mission. So
Oh,
okay, so architecture forum, then this comes as the TOGAF, that when we say that the open group architecture framework, then we have architecture forum, and what's the mission over there? So it's that it is to enhance or advance the vision which we have talked about, boundaryless information flow, okay, between the enterprises. And between the enterprises means that we have organization, and within the organization we have multiple entities. So a group can have multiple enterprises. For example, that we have Reliance Industries. In Reliance Industries an organization. In that we have something like petrochemical, we have something like manufacturing, we have something like uh, automobile, all that thing. These are the enterprises within the organization, and this information can flow and have the interoperability between all these three. So this talks about the mission which the open group architecture forum is having. I'll not go about this community, because when we have this architecture forum, we have a community of enterprise architects, and over there we share the information. Then we have connects where we can discuss all about that, how is this advancement is being done. I want to ask now, I want to go on this, what is enterprise and what is enterprise architecture and all that thing. So before that, I want to ask you that what's your understanding about the enterprise and enterprise architecture?
enterprise architecture.
Before even enterprise architecture, what is enterprise? What is your understanding about enterprise? Or what is the definition we call as an enterprise?
Enterprise I call as a group of companies
Mhm.
joined together to form one company under the umbrella.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
means I say as the same example what you said is Reliance Cup, right? Here, petrochemical, there were some Scott, all this company can come to the head of one company, like a Reliance Group. But the domain-wise, the vertical domains could be a different one. That's what my understanding.
Yeah,
It's not necessarily one domain. It should be the Reliance Cup can have what is that, medical, or they could have something different, manual or some. That's what man is a group of one. Petroleum is one, and they call it as a one group. That's what I built thinking of.
exactly. So from the enterprise level, if you'll see, if I am a owner of an enterprise or I am a chairperson of the enterprise, for me, uh, the organizations which I am having, either petrochemical, automobile, whatever it is, for me, there is a common goal which I want to achieve, right? I want to have that in an organization. It can be part of any corporation, government agency. It can have multiple entities, like we have given an example, automobile, or let's say petrochemical, whatever it is. There, in that, there can be the extended enterprise as well, which we call as a partner, suppliers,
Yes.
distributors. All that comes as part of the extended enterprise as well, but it is part of the organization. It is part of that whole group, which we are, which is having a common set of goal under the organization. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, even before the enterprise architecture, what is architecture?
Architecture is methodically design of any business. Uh, it's not only business, I agree. Any work you see, architecture means it is a kind of set of rules, governance, built up together to form systematic approach all together for the organization.
Exactly. So let's see that these as a systems. Okay, now within the organization we have, within the enterprise we have organizations. Now within the organizations we have different portfolios, different entities. Consider it as an elements. Now when we have architecture, when we say that what is the architecture, then we say that okay, this is the system. Now what is how do we connect, or how do we define the relationship between these? How do we define the environment where these are lying? How do we
Yes.
govern the design, the evolution of these systems? How do we advance these? How do these can be shared between multiple organizations within the enterprise? All of these things, when we define the fundamental concepts of that, that is called the architecture. Now, we know that what is enterprise, we know what is architecture. So here this,
Yes.
that what is the enterprise architecture? So it says that we have business processes, then we have our technology uh, infrastructure, and when we define the, because see, as a starting of this, or in the between, we were discussing that this whole concept is like that, how do we convert this business equal to technology,
Yes.
right? So this is what we do as an enterprise, or this is what exactly the enterprise architecture do. So it defines the logic that this business which we having, the technology infrastructure which we are having, how these are integrated, how these requirements for these business architecture which we have taken, how this is derived to the technology application, how do we derive the data architecture, then how do we do the actual implementation, how do we do the governance, and how do we uh, iterate through it to see that okay, this is the thing which we wanted to have as a vision which the organization had.
Yeah, I'm reading through the conceptual blueprint that defines the structure on the operation of an organization.
Yeah,
Okay, the intent of the enterprise or is to determine how to organization can most efficiently achieve its current and future objectives. Okay,
yeah.
my question is here is the intent is to determine how an organization can most effectively. Okay, is it includes the process also?
Process of,
Any business. So suppose it is a vendor process. Think it out. The vendor has a different. So suppose I have a couple of vendors. So I am putting in one process, like effectively of time
yes, yes,
concerns.
definitely it keeps that process as well, because uh, when we say that okay, take it as this, that current is going to be the legacy and the future is going to be the way ahead for the organization, right? Now
Yeah.
when we talk about this, when we define the enterprise architecture, we have to definitely
Yes.
consider the processes which we are having, let's say it is vendor or anything, because
Okay.
current architecture I am dependent on a vendor, but in the future
Yes.
architecture I might not be.
Right. For example, nowadays, right, the check process is happening automatically, right? Like you create the orders, I in future, some other technology can overtake that, right? Voice recognition or something can overtake that. So that's all included, like amendment in the current architecture to the future architecture, right?
Exactly, and that's where we'll go through in the future when we go through these phases. There is something called the target architecture and the intermediate architecture. Okay,
Okay.
and over there we current architecture, then transition architecture, target architecture. These are the terms which we mainly use for these things because in target we might not be having those processes because when we look right now from the current architecture or current blocks which we are having in the organization, with the future roadmap, when we define the target architecture, we might not be having that process. But for the
Yes.
organization to go into the transformation, it is not always easy or it is not that straightforward to directly reach to the target where we don't have that process. Okay, in because in that particular case, we go with the transition, and in the transition architecture, we then define that how we are going to evolve from current to transition and from transition to target where the actually these processes will be eliminated.
So most of the one I said is fitting what I told you. That project what I was worked is from the 1103 is the older version which came in 2008 or 2009 kind of a stuff. Now the cloud has come, a new technology has come, right? Now we transferred from the 1103 and to the cloud, doing everything the same kind of stuff, but not without suppose I took the over the project. I said the people are old people who are working there, like 60s or 65s, to convert them to a new technology is difficult, So I recommended to go to the change order process, organization change order process. So if the client accepted after a long debate why it is needed. So this kind of this TOGAF will help to smooth over the transition, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
And
good,
that's
good,
this
good.
this 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 information comes in that why really do we need the enterprise architecture to solve the business problems, right? In the enterprise, and it is
Yes,
because when we want to have the continuity to the business to the market, then we have to go into the transformations. It can be technology transformation, it can be data transformation, it can be digital transformation. And if you'll see from last 5 years after COVID, we are into the digital transformation era where
yes,
each and every organization are going into the digital transformations, right? And
yes,
we have this kind of transformations, then companies, organizations get the competitive advantage because if you'll see that in India, we have two telco competitors, Jio and Airtel. Now, if one of these would not be transformed to the digital, then they would be left behind into the competitive competitions and they would not be having any advantage, which where this Vodafone is lacking right now in India. They have their digital
oh,
footprint, but they have not digitally transformed. They might be digitally transformed from the customer point of view, but within the organization, they have not transformed digitally. They are still using
oh,
the stacks. So
mm,
that is a real-time example I would take for that. And
okay.
that's where, if you'll go with the third point, that current ITs do not really meet the need of business. Now, that's the problem. When Geo came in India, it brought all the new technologies take new technology applications, new technologies take. Those all were so advanced that to meet that standard, some of the organization falls where Vodafone fall and or failed, but Airtel kept its pace and it transformed its systems. So for any of the postpaid, prepaid, or whatever business they are having, they are continuously transforming themselves.
Oh,
And that is where, and the fourth point again is the investment which is needed, right? So if the organization is not investing, then you are not making the advantage.
yes.
Right? So this is why we need the enterprise architecture. And if you are having a good foundation of the enterprise architects and the architecture within your organization, then only these kind of decisions can be taken, and then your organization can make the success in the market.
Yeah.
And this is again the pressure. This is continued to the last slide, that why the pressure is there to develop the enterprise architecture. For some of the countries, for some of the continents, there are public regulations, laws and regulations that you have to have an enterprise architecture.
Yeah.
So that is mandate for them. But for Indian market, we don't have. So over here, it's the kind of let's say market advancement which they need. Okay, so that they have their establishments available, or they are surviving in the market, right? So that is where there is a pressure to develop this. Now, the organizations or the startups which is coming in, after a set of period, they go into the having the enterprise architecture within their system, so that they can make their impact on the market.
So this is of course a good one, because I worked on semiconductor industries, Each government, each country, mostly I could say each country, continent, has a different, the ROS validation. ROS validation is one of the big pain validation compliance, because it consists of lead. Lead cannot be used more than this percentage in the any materials, and also lead about disposal of the lead, in the outside the market or wherever. So this compliance, as it said, is different to different countries, right? We have a European lead, we have a US lead draws compliance. So each one can plug in, right? To the based on the area of business.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Do we want to continue, or uh, we can have that in the next session as well?
No, I am fine. I'm fine. It looks good. Is though we are doing it, as I said, the where compliance by the word of mouth, is not strict framework we are doing it. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Mo is a draws compliance. Everybody says put it on the label. Is it everybody looking on the property that we're shipping it a lit compliance or not? Yes, we got a certificate, but it's true or not, whether it follows some standardized method to give the outcome. I don't think so. In the manufacturing, they do that. Maybe some are product they do that as a sampling, not all the item.